What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. The crypto charts are oversold, but what happens next will cause mass confusion. And in this video, I'll explain all the reasons why. So let's go ahead and dive in. Alright guys, as I likely will do in a lot of videos this week, firm reminder that hey, we are extremely oversold on a ton of different time frames in the crypto market, in the altcoin market, in Bitcoin. So if you're not allocating to something right now, do not come crying back in 6 months when we move out of these zones and you wish you could have got these cheaper prices. We're not going to really dive into my overall thesis in videos this week, but you guys should know by now. And if you're just checking out these videos for the first time, I'm extremely bullish on the crypto market. I think we're within the same cycle. I think the best times are yet to come. And that is where a lot of the confusion is going to come in my opinion. Now, the first bit of confusion we can talk about, and I think it's pretty obvious to a lot of people that have watched my channels. We talk about it in another video this week. We're likely in a position or at a point in time where Bitcoin is going to actively try to find a bottom. Now, what that looks like can be a couple of different things. But the first bit of confusion I think a lot of people are going to go through is not getting down to these 40K, 30K kind of areas. Even when we're working on finding a bottom, even if we are to go sweep a low in here, even if we were to go as low as 50K somewhere in here, I think that's plenty, way more than enough to really firm up this bottom in here. Reasoning for that, again, we're more oversold than we ever have been across a lot of high time frame charts. A lot of things in the altcoin market are completely bottomed out. And then there's a ton of chart kind of dynamics that I call them, or dynamics within the crypto market, ETH BTC, Bitcoin dominance, others BTC, all those things pointing to the fact that not only are we finding a bottom, but could be still within the same cycle, in my opinion. Now, I do want to be clear too. I have people, I am telling them to keep some bags for 30 to, 24 to 30K. Now, this is insurance on if I'm completely wrong. I think a lot of people, again, there's even another section of bears that would be, equally confused if we did go down this low. There's a lot of loud bears calling for this low, and then there's, people calling for kind of one more dip and then we can go higher. They would be just as shocked if we did go that low. But this would be a typical bear market correction. So this is a normal 70 to 70, 75, up to about 80% correction, which is very typical of what you see in a bear market, which is another reason why I've been trying to tell people that this is not a normal bear market. It doesn't feel like a bear market, doesn't seem like a bear market, and I do think it is all a part of the same cycle. Now, I'm not trying to digress into that in this video, but it is kind of a concept that you need to understand. All right, so that is confusion to the downside. Now, confusion to the upside is going to come to formation if and when we V bottom out of here. If we are able to reclaim this 74 to 78K level, there's going to be people drawing charts like this right here, telling you it's going lower. They're going to draw it again right there. They're going to draw it again right there. They're going to draw it again at the all-time high. And they're going to be confused all the way up. So let me give you a brief explanation of these people's timeline over the last few years. So this was April of 2025. This was when I was calling the bottom of ETH BTC, telling everybody to load up on Ethereum. They were saying bear market, all these things are over, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, even myself, I got this wrong up in here, as I did think we would follow a little bit closer what a 4-year cycle would be, even though I don't particularly believe in a 4-year cycle per se. But at the same time, these people who were bearish in here, not willing to buy in here, were very, very willing to buy in here. They rode this whole leg down and they did not accept it was a bear market until here. Now, if price starts going up, okay, going up, going up, going up, going up, they are going to be confused out of their mind. All of the gurus who said this thing was going to go on till October are going to be confused out of their mind. And they're not going to have a choice except to get overly bearish and not accept what is going on in the price action itself, not accept what's going on within the dynamics of the crypto market. If others BTC is breaking out at that time, even if Bitcoin dominance is doing numbers at that time, I don't think they're going to have a good explanation as to why those things are happening, and it's going to leave a lot of them confused because they haven't done the work beforehand. You don't have to be in a perfect position, but be set up in a position to at least have an understanding of what's going on, whether that be from research, whether that be from not giving into your emotions, whether that be from being in the right position and not flip-flopping back and forth. All these different things are going to cause a lot of confusion. Now, the biggest spot for me is what is going to happen once we break all-time highs. My thesis is that we do make new all-time highs in 2026. What happens when we get there? So now we have two sets of people who were wrong, three sects of the same type of people, I guess. We have the doomsdayers who were wrong for calling that we were going to go this low. Again, a situation that I'm prepared for because that is what a typical bear market looks like. Hopefully, you guys can understand the nuance of the difference between the bears calling for 50 to 55 and the difference between the bears calling for 25 to 30. Let's say we V bottom out of here. These bears were wrong. They didn't get the prices they were hoping for. And then the people that either shorted or continued not to buy all the way up are going to be wrong. Confusion, confusion, confusion. Now we're just going to draw some arbitrary cycle out here, not getting into exactly what that might look like. But again, it's 2026. Everybody said it's a 4-year cycle. Everybody who's calling for lower is following a typical 4-year cycle kind of pattern or thought process. Sorry, keep deleting it. 4-year cycle kind of thought process. Now, what happens when we break out into new all-time highs? What are these people saying? Are they calling this a new cycle? That's going to cause a bit of confusion because what happened to you had to get to the halving? What happened to 3 years, 2 years of accumulation, even after you have put in that bottom kind of sideways waddle action that you have to do for a period of time? What happened to that? Just a lot of confusion. Are people going to call it super cycles? Are they going to say it's a part of this same cycle, which is kind of what I'm saying? Um, but calling this a super cycle, saying this is going to go until 2028, 2029, something like that. And I think that is going to cause a lot of confusion as well, because by the time that everybody is on board, which is going to be this time right here, contrary to popular belief, this is not where people are going to get on board. There's still going to be people who are bearish on the crypto market once Bitcoin total market cap, whatever, breaks out of this period that it's been in and puts in some sort of back test, people will still be bearish. I promise you. The acceptance that the bull market is here, super cycle, all these crazy theories gonna come out or are going to come out once we break above that retest level. But typically, this is when we are putting in our final 5 waves of the market. Okay. And this is where you need to be letting everything go. So everybody who rode this down all the way down in here is now screaming bearish. They're likely going to be wrong. Either way this goes, it's not going to go as low as they want, or they're going to fade it all the way up. Okay. A few of them might flip bullish and get in on this back test in here, but a lot of them, okay, and even if they aren't bears right now, even if they're just normal people who are holding crypto but not willing to add more because they're scared, are not going to accept it until we break above that level. But then it's already too late. It's the final month of the cycle, 2 months of the cycle. Now, what happens on the first 50 30% drawdown? That's something that we talked about when comparing this bear market in here, right? 52% drawdown versus this kind of initial kick on Bitcoin in here being only, 35, 36%. So what happens when we get an official 50% drawdown at that time? That's 80% on there, but and people are screaming, this is the buy the dip opportunity, guys. This is the buy the dip. Everybody was doing that shit in here. Really, I don't even think this was the buy the dip opportunity. It was actually right in there. They didn't buy the dip, any one of these dips in here. They didn't buy this massive dip in here. They didn't buy this dip in here. But now that they've seen what the crypto market is capable of, how fast it moves, the amount of gains that come out of this market, they're convinced that that's going to continue on. Buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And this is when a real bear market can take place. I was going through this exercise briefly on Sunday on a live stream, and he just showed Cardano as an example. Okay. When I say a real bear market, this has not been fun. Yes, this has been terribly not fun, but it has not been a real bear market. It's been sideways chop. Things like Cardano, things like other majors have held their own. We have Solana went on a nice run. We have XRP went on a nice run. Ethereum at times went on a nice run, still holding its levels. That is vastly, vastly, vastly different than something like what we saw in 2021, which I need to literally go full screen just so you guys can see. Okay. This is a lot different. This is negative 92% in 480 days. Says negative 90% in 255 days. Okay. You were down about 80% in 170 days. This is this is a lot different than what's going on this cycle. So people will be like, "Whoa, Americana, like, what do you mean a real bear market?" Something like this is what I'm referring to, and that, in my opinion, is what happens when people end up confused. Right now, they should be extremely bullish, as we have been pointing out over the last few weeks for many various reasons. Now, what's going to happen if they don't get on early? In a scenario very similar to this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Hopefully that thought process makes sense to you guys. Hopefully you guys have the understanding that, hey, I need to be getting on board. Now is the time to take the risk. Okay. Now is the time to take the risk, in my opinion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I have a lot of free materials for you guys. I have free newsletter. I have a free Discord. Both of those things, link for that is in my bio. And yeah, appreciate you guys as always. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. Turn on the notifications so you can catch all my videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.